What if I do this? What if I do that?
Yeah.
All right.
Really? So you get
Cool. You recording?
I am recording.
All right. The lady that cuts my hair, Stephanie, said she hollered at me yesterday because she said that I was messing up her haircut because I would do this. And I had a big old 5 head instead of a 4 head.
Yeah.
You know, and I told her to quit making fun of old people. But, so, you know, how's that? All right.
that's for Stephanie.
She needs a grass cut again.
Huh? She does. Did you call Angie?
Oh, trying.
Well, did Tim tell you her secretary gonna be there to 12?
Well, I'll talk to you later about it.
Well, she gonna be there to 12? Huh? Okay.
I'm waiting.
All right. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Return it. All right. Does anybody have anything in particular that you want to do? Okay, well, I'm just going to talk. This is what I've been doing, and today will be the spirituality of Slingbow making. Yes, Slingbow.
About that again?
And I meant to bring it, but I'll tell you, yeah.
Wait, make one after class? You went Gangstone?
No.
Young Dave.
But I left the Slingbow and the tripod together, so.
Wow.
But I've been the last 3 or 4 days. That's what I've been obsessing on is Slingbows. And I'm going to tie it into what we've been talking about. Okay? Because as I've been doing this, I've learned some stuff about how you learn stuff. So, what did I tell y'all about Slingbows?
It's not much.
Just not much.
Not a whole lot about it.
Well,
What it looks like. You know, hard.
last time I went to the Gulf, did I tell you this? And there was sheep head everywhere, and they wasn't biting. And I had my cart, because I got me a cart I made, and it's a folding cart that you get it wherever, for mamas or whatever, to put your kids in, whatever. Anyway, but it folds up about that thick, about that big. And because I was, just quit. Okay, that's going to be your spiritual discipline today. Only say something if it's got something to do with anything.
Thank you. Thank you.
You went all into the car.
I know, but I didn't invite you in there.
I thank you.
Say?
That's the one thing to speak for 2 hours and say no.
Okay. Anyway. Because I got ADD so bad, it'd take me 47 years to get back to where I started. So anyway, okay. And so I got home and started thinking about, I need to shoot them fish. And so I started looking up YouTube, because YouTube you can learn about anything, get a PhD on YouTube. And these boys were shooting. And there's actually an industry of bow fishing. I didn't know this, but I don't know a lot. And then I was watching all that and thinking, okay, well I can get me a compound bow but a regular compound bow, 50 to 100, that is slam through the fish.
Yeah.
It's just way too much, and then started shop for a fishing bow, which is about 40 pounds, 35, 40 pounds, but it was still $400, and I'm saying, this is stupid. I ain't doing that. And then it'll take up because I got my fishing cart packed, because I got some PVC and made me rod holders on the back. It'll hold 6 rods and it'll clip on the back, it's all cool. And then I put my ice chest and my tackle box and some food, and if I need some liquid refreshment or whatever, it'll be in there. And that's about packed up, so I started thinking I need to do something else. And then I started thinking, if I could get a slingshot and shoot an arrow with it, I'll be good. And then I found out there's a whole industry around slingbows. Okay, so again, I don't know a whole lot. And I got online and I researched that, and ended up. You getting tired, baby?
Hey, I can be smart.
It's fine. He's he's in the meditative state, so
He's at Marshall's.
he'll be chill. Yeah, you want to try that?
Yeah, we can.
Any prayers in there?
Now, please make it out of turn for me one day.
What's that like?
I'm gonna still have to hold it like that and get you.
Okay. So, and there's these Slingbows, they got these big industrial, they're almost as big as crossbows, some of them, little tiny crossbows, and they're $150. But then I thought that wasn't, because what I was going after was making it. I wanted to make something. And I found this guy in California that makes for 40 years, been making these slingshots and slingbow things out of wood, and they're real pretty. So I decided I was going to get that. And then I found out he's an assembly pastor out there, and this is a business. He helps, I guess he's bivocational, help, with the church and stuff. But then I found out that people were shooting squirrels and stuff with this. That's, and all this survival stuff, and I found out if you're going to survive, you ain't really doing it unless you got a wad of paracord. Because if you ain't cool if you ain't got paracord. I didn't know that, But if you put some paracord on something, you automatically surviving, right? And you cool, and you get I think you get a tattoo with it or something. I don't know, but so I ordered this thing from a California guy and put him on YouTube. He's on YouTube too. But it's going to be a month and a half before it gets here. So I'm sitting here just like, I want to go shoot something, So I was at Friday. I was downtown talking to a DA buddy and one of the investigators about going fishing and stuff. And I started talking about Slingbows, and they went, "What? That sounds cool." So I jump up out our meeting and run to Walmart and get 3 Daisy $9 B-52s, slingshots, right? You got one? Okay. And I bring them in there, and we're going to do like soapbox derby, where everybody gets the same block of wood, and then you make your own thing, and then we're going to go shoot some fish. Well, that was the idea. So I get that thing home, and I bought me 140 rounds of 3/8 ball ammo.
Marbles.
Huh? Marbles are better? Fine. Well, anyway. See, I didn't know that. See? And one of the principles is, and what we're talking about, is you don't know what you don't know till you start trying to know.
Right.
Write that down, okay? Because you think you know something till you start trying to do it. And you can sit around and talk about Jesus and recovery and all this stuff for years.
Know what you know.
You don't know what you don't know till you start trying to know. Because I sat there and watched YouTubes, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, they made that. Got some PVC in Bennett. Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, you can do that." Then you shoot your arrow, boom, tie a line to it. Yeah, I know all that. I could do a talk on that, how to build a slingbow, and I ain't never done it.
Right.
Did you repeat what you said a little bit?
You don't know what you don't know till you start trying to know.
Well, I thought you couldn't try.
See, again, my ignorance is till you start the process of knowing or something. Higher.
I just put it trying.
Yeah, try in the good sense. Do, but we need to figure out a better word if we're going to write down the quote. So, not attempting.
Getting to know.
Because I'm getting to know. That'd be good. Because I'm going to know. I'm going to build a slingbow and I'm going to kill a fish with it.
Sounds better than trying it.
Yeah, getting to know. Getting to know is good because if you get to know somebody, you got to hang out with them.
Right. A relationship with knowing.
A relationship with knowing. There you go. Okay. Okay. See, now I done forgot. What was I talking about?
You got your BB?
Oh, you can, so I was watching all this stuff. I said, this will be easy. And then I got me a Daisy B52 and went home. And it's a different shape than the Slingshot, the guy that melted the PVC around. It is round, the one he did, and the B52 is square. I'm like, well, shit, this ain't gonna work. Praise the Lord, thank you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
That's a Lord. You don't know. You didn't know.
Okay. And so I got that thing home, and I'm thinking, well, how in the world am I going to mount stuff to it? Because the idea that I had or that was presented to me didn't work in my situation. And when we're talking about this meditation stuff and soul and learning to get to know God, you may hear somebody who has an idea of how it worked for them, but when you try it out, it may not work for you in your situation. You can have faith and trust and hope that it will work. It's just that you aren't anybody else. I'm not anybody else. Does this make any sense? Okay? There's an example and you know that it is possible, but you're going to have to figure it out in your situation. Okay? So I start thinking, well, I looked at the Slingshot, took it out, and I shot 50, 60 times. I hadn't shot a Slingshot in 35 years or so, just to feel it. And then I was going, well, are these rubber bands strong enough? I don't know. Because I didn't even know to ask that question until I started getting to know it. Excellent, getting to know it, that's good. And I sat there, and for probably 2 hours, I just sat there, and my family made fun of me because I was obsessing over this. But I didn't care, So it had them screws. I went downstairs and got a screwdriver, opened it up, and what I found out was that the Y part is just a piece of 1/4-inch steel shaped in a Y, separate, and then the wrist guard is a separate little piece that's bent to go on your wrist. And it's sitting inside a hollow chamber. Right, the plastic handle's hollow. There's several different chambers in there. And they had just plastic holes in there where the screws went in. Right? And so then I started thinking, well, if I put some pressure on that thing, I'm liable to pull these screws out or whatever. So I said, I'm going to fill this up with something. And I was thinking, well, I could melt some plastic in there or whatever. Ended up getting some quick steel, just like JB Weld, filled all the voids in there. So now I got a solid piece of steel thing. I had that, and then I said, well, I need something to mount it with. And I was thinking a T-brace or this, that, and other. Finally ended up with a 3-inch corner brace steel, and I flattened it with a 3-pound hammer, the one I hit my head with. And I broke this finger with, because I learned about hammers, hitting my head with it.
That's a 4-pound right there.
Because it's very different if you get a claw hammer try to do something. Y'all ever done it? You know what I'm talking about? And then you get a 3-pound hammer. You don't even have to hit it hard. And you don't know that kind of stuff till you know it. Because some of y'all are going like this, and others are theoretically going, yeah, I could see that could be different, but you don't know because you've not experienced it. Does that make it? Okay? And we can sit and argue about hammers, but if you hadn't hit yourself in the head with it, busted your finger with it, or like when I punched through that piece of that corner brace, I got my nail set and hit that thing, boom, boom, boom. And if I'd have had a claw hammer, I'd have sit there and pecked at it for 3 hours trying to get it through. I learned something, and I know it. It's not theory. Okay. So as I went through all this, I put that on there, drilled it out, did all my stuff, mounted my reel on it. And I ended up getting a Cajun reel, just an old hand reel. It's just round, you know what I'm talking about? And you put 100, 200 pound braid on it. And I put that on there. And I'm thinking survival, because I got paracord. You got to survive. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and it's about that thick, deep, and it's empty. So I said, I'm gonna make me a survival kit, because I got to put like paracord in there in case I need to survive. And so started thinking, well, how am I gonna do that? I went upstairs and started digging around. I tried to see, CD cases, those come in there, and I tried to cut it, and it broke. It's brittle. So then I need a piece of plastic. Now I was thinking those old, where you get this 5-quart ice cream. I think that'd be perfect, but we didn't have none of them because I was going to dump all the ice cream out and get the plastic. But I went to the Tupperware and stole the lid out of the Tupperware cabinet, cut that up and put some screws on there, and so now I got a survival kit. Now, until I have started messing with all this stuff and messing up, and because I screwed up, it took me, if somebody known what they were doing, they could have done this in an hour and a half probably. I'm 4 days into it because I'm a little retarded. But so you ought to have some hope. If I can do it, it's possible. Okay? This is the process of anything, of gaining any kind of knowledge of something. We can gain knowledge about stuff easy. We can become professors and PhDs about stuff and still not know it. We can know about it. Until you bust some fingers and the knife slips and it cuts your hand, or you do something and you work 4 hours on an air arrest. And I got me a Wagner heat gun, and it had 2 settings, 750 and 1100, I think. And I got me some PVC and started doing that. And then I figured out I needed some gloves. It was hot, But you don't think about that, you don't know it till you know it, till you're doing it. So I got me some gloves, and the 750, I was about to go to sleep waiting on it to heat up. So I tried 1100. It did good, And I squeezed it flat, and it went on top of that brace. And I had a big long piece of PVC, and I cut it off. And I heated it up, bent it over, and cut it so it made me a little air arrest. But I had a problem now because I didn't have anything to hold my arrow. So I had to experiment with that. I used paracord, I used this, that, and the other. Ended up, any of y'all archers, the D-loop cord. If you take some D-loop cord and 50-pound monofilament and serve it, it holds that arrow perfect in a knot. Because I tried paracord and 65-pound braid, that kind of worked, but the paracord's too squishy. But see, I didn't even know about I remember seeing serving. I didn't know that's what it was called till I got to the point where I knew I needed to have something to hold my arrow on. And that led me to the next piece of knowledge I needed. Y'all see any progress or process in this? You go one screw up to the next screw up. And at each screw up, you gain some new information if you are not trying to get to know, but getting to know. Here's Perry and A+ Slingshots. Go see him. He seems like a really cool guy. A little update. I let my batteries run down on my mic, so it didn't work anymore on the video. A couple of things. One, the main thing is, I think Perry's stuff is going to be so cool and elegant and beautiful. And my little thing is kind of not, But I think the process is going to make that thing very valuable to me. It says that Abraham was reckoned as righteous because when he was called, he went out not knowing whither he went. He didn't depend on his knowing, his senses, his intelligence, his ego. And even though he went in some weird ways and was not a very good man a lot of times, it was reckoned righteousness to him because when he was called, he went out not knowing. And it's in the not knowing is where our power is. It's where we come to the limits of what we think ourselves are and discover our soul, discover our Creator, discover the real world, that place that is much too deep for words. So, but the path of righteousness is not knowing, apparently, according to young Paul in his writings. And there's also an issue of belief versus knowing. When we're believing, we're not knowing, you know. Belief takes the place of knowing sometimes and fakes us out as though we know the thing when in fact all we do is know about it. So I'm going to wrap all this up and stick it on here, and if you can muddle through, I hope it's worth your time. A+ slingshots, top of the class. Go buy some stuff. Well, I had to work again today. So I'm here at the office, and this is an old building. It's about a 100-year-old building that I redid. Sorry about the lights and stuff. 10 years ago or so, and I sold it, and now I'm back here. And I'm getting it set up to do our little business. But I'm going to want to recap the spirituality of Slingbow making, as is the case with me a lot. I forget something or something messes up. And this time I didn't have the batteries ran out, so the second half of it didn't even take. So here, it's a pretty old building. I spent weeks and months just knocking plaster off bricks. And look, I have paper that says I'm supposed to be important. I used to think that was so. I don't anymore. So, had to close the blinds, it's too bright. This whole building thing was a project kind of like the Slingbow. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have the tools. But you just kind of acquire them as you go. And you learn. That's what the point of the Slingbow talk was. Is it's one thing to spend a lot of time studying and thinking and talking. And I've found that we can spend weeks and months and years, decades even, thinking about going to do something. And trying to figure it all out. And then when we get it figured out, we're going to start. That's when we'll start. The problem with that is you don't know, or I didn't know what I didn't know until you begin working a project. There's a spiritual principle in the Christian faith. I think it's in Hebrews 13. It talks about Abraham was reckoned as righteous. Not because he was a good man, because he wasn't. He was not a good man. I mean, he's going to pimp his wife out to save his own skin. But he was reckoned righteous, and because when he was called, it says he went out not knowing where he was going. And that was righteousness, which seems an odd thing when we tend to attach right, good, with a certain type certain behavior patterns or certain cultural expectations or certain religious principles or practices. Because Abraham basically, his deal was, God says, I have this thing for you. The Creator says, I have this dream, this purpose for you, and I want you to go find it. And when you get there, I'll let you know. You know, that's what I discovered in doing this building. There was no plan. We just kind of went from room to room to room, and as you completed one thing, another idea presented itself, and then that idea, when you try to engage in the material world and bring it into reality, it presents a whole new set of problems that were unforeseen, and I wouldn't have known until I was engaged in the process. This talk I'm doing, I teach at a Christian-based rehab, but I'm a little awed to be there, I guess, in the way that I come at it. But I've been trying to talking to these guys for the last month or two about the fictional world we live in and how we give a fiction or life, or rather a fiction or a dead thing, we give it life by our attention and our energies. Whether it is the illusion of authority in government or in the whole legal system. I mean, it's called legal fiction anyway. The media, what we think is important. I mean, hell, we got grown people running around playing Pokemon and are just fired up. And they're not evil for doing that. It's not real. The real world has dirt, and it has air, and it has water, and it has plants, and it has dangers, and it has blessings. But it seems as though our world is brainwashed into believing the fiction. You know? And that's based on our five senses and what we refer to as ego. And I spent a lot of years chasing going down lots of rabbit holes, trying to figure stuff out. And finally came to the conclusion that it's all a lie, it's all a head game from the get-go, that there are people who understand how to motivate and control human beings. They were called kings. Basically, they were gangsters that convinced people that God said they were going to be boss. And they would go take each other's junk and then defend it with force and violence. And that became our way of living and our expectation of life. And it's just the only real difference now is they got neon lights and Twitter. You know, I mean, it's the same stuff. Distract the people, take their energy from them through their labor, through their creativity, charge them for living, and make them somehow grateful that you do it for them. That's kind of how it all works. So I've been on this little journey. Personally, it wasn't because I was smart, because I'm not. Smart people would have got here a lot quicker than me, and I still got a long way to go. But I had begun to discover that our ways of knowing are confining. Our five senses only can see in a small, or see, feel, hear, taste, touch, whatever, in a small spectrum of the huge band of what's possible. And so if I can't perceive x-rays, or that this is the solidity of this desk is an illusion, if I can't perceive that with my senses, and that, assuming that is reality, that's what the physicists say, I can't know the truth with my senses. I can know about it. Another thing that I've learned is that real knowing can't be communicated to another person. I talked about hitting my head with a hammer. I can talk about that, but I can't communicate that experience and that truth of that. The only way you can know that is to do it yourself. And so these guys that's a rehab, and a lot of them have been in and out of both church and rehab for many years, and neither one of them seemed to work. They'll have flights into becoming normal and well-adjusted citizens, but part of my point with all that is that if we're well-adjusted citizens in a system that is false, no wonder you can't finally kick an addiction, because what's the use? Because our soul will continue to wake us up. God will continue to wake us up, and we'll have that sense that something is not right, that there ought to be something different. Life ought to be another way. And many times when we experience that, our first impulse is to make that go away, to do something to distract ourselves, because we're addicted to the distractions, whether that be, it could be anything, whatever it is that we turn to when we get bored, when we feel incomplete. So, as we're talking about the Slingbow, and it's stuff that I knew, that you know, you already know this. It's sometimes so simple we walk right over it and miss it. But when I had this idea when I was fishing that I need to shoot some fish. And that seemed fairly simple, straightforward thing. But that idea, that hope, that dream started a process that will eventually get completed in me fixing this thing and shooting a fish with it. But there's something about sitting there with something and feeling it and touching it in the real. Because I think we do religion and life in our minds disconnected from our soul, as though our ego, our history, the sensory inputs from our data receptors are reality. And they're not. They're a perception of it. And there's a sea of knowledge, of experience that is in a place that is beyond words. There's a stillness. There's another principle in Christianity that's overlooked a lot of times. It talks about being still and knowing that I am God is the command, or knowing God, knowing the Creator. We have to be still. It's not in our doing that we know the profound. Jesus also talked about knowing. He says you will know the truth. Know it, not know about it, not write theological treatises or psychological tomes on addiction. Because I've been doing this, all those papers on the wall. I learned to do all that and made a bunch of A's. But I knew about it. I didn't know the thing itself. But there was always something that called to me and called to me and called to me. And tried to wake up. And there was a lot of grief and confusion and fear involved in that. And there still may be some more left, I don't know, but I feel so much better. It's good stuff. So, but as I engage this process, I became more and more aware in very practical ways how the difference between watching a YouTube on how to make a Slingbow and actually doing it, If some of y'all come up in church, we do a lot of talking about God. We have lots of activities and cultural norms based on your particular denomination. I was educated in a Baptist cemetery, but now I hang out with some Pentecostals. certain brand of them, and they're fine folks. I like them. But I've been in the ecumenical kinds of traditions and hung out with some Muslims and Jewish folks and explored and studied Buddhism and all those different isms. But the isms won't get you where you need to be. That's what I believe. It's what I experience. It's what I know. So was there something else I wanted to say? But just thinking about stuff ain't gonna do it. You ain't gonna figure it out. You're not gonna know how to build a slingbow, renovate a building, or find peace in your soul by thinking about it or talking about it. And we can get baked out as though that is real, but that is a fiction. The truth of the thing you can't communicate. You have to go know it, get to know it. So one of the things that we talked about in the little film was you don't really know what you don't know till you're really in the process of getting to know something. Because as each step of this process or meditative consciousness kind of stuff, or anything that you want to do, fish, hunt, learn to work on a computer, it's the same thing. Touch it, taste it, smell it, the sensory inputs can help. But until you're in that process and you fail, and then you fix that failure, and that moves you along the line of really, really knowing something. And you basically move from one failure to the next one. Another thing I wanted to remind or highlight is that when you're seeking advice or seeking solutions, one person's solution may not work for you in your particular situation. And I think that's the way it has to be, because I need to wrestle with it and struggle with it and figure out what it feels like and know what it feels like and how the parts work. If I'm actually going to complete something, if I'm going to know God, if I'm going to know myself, I have to do that. And I'm not going to do it with my ego, my senses. So that's kind of what we talked about, some other stuff in the film, but that was the beauty of slingbow making for me. You know, reveling in what I don't know, rather than hiding behind all I think I do. I think that's the key. Curiosity, openness, being willing and expecting to fail. The old man once told me everything's hard before it's easy. You know? But once you know it, you know it. And there's no way around it. You got to do it. Peace out.